Movie friends, how are you? A happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and all other associated winter holidays. Welcome to What's Your Favorite Movie, the podcast celebrating film fandom, our favorite movies, movie memories, and why we love those movies and those memories so much. My name is Ed South, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at Ed South, and follow the show at WYF Movie Podcast. And we also have an email address, favemoviepodcast@yahoo.com, sitting there collecting cobwebs, so please send us some holiday greetings, if you will. And also, we have a Facebook page now, which actually serves a real purpose. When you hear the episode, you can go over to Facebook, dial up the photo album from whatever episode you're listening to, and there'll be plenty of pictures and visual aids to guide you through your listening adventure of the What's Your Favorite Movie podcast. Overselling it just a little bit. And don't forget, new episodes of the show debut the first and third Wednesday of each month on iTunes and Spreaker, as well as various other podcast apps. My guest today, sitting with me in the guest chair where all guests sit, is none other than good friend of the show, Diana. Diana, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Ed. Thank you. How are you?
Delightful and excited to talk about movies with you,
yes,
because we enjoy talking about movies.
We do.
Because neither of us have much else of a life to fill in the holes, so movies is where it... No,
is that really what you want to advertise about yourself?
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So you were here in... When did we record your episode? It was like April, I think. End of April?
Yeah, it was back in the spring.
And as soon as we were done recording, I was like, we didn't talk about one of our favorite films that we both love and adore and cherish.
And it was definitely... It was on the short list, but it just didn't quite make the cut, but...
And since it's a Christmas-themed film and it has Christmas in the title... I said, well, we got to do that in December. Let's do it for the show right before Christmas. So we are going to dedicate a chunk of today's episode to the 1983 classic short film, Mickey's Christmas Carol. Do you love Mickey's Christmas Carol?
I do love Mickey's Christmas Carol, which is weird for me because I'm not really a Disney fan in the way that you are.
Don't hold it again. Well... Right. You can.
Very few people are Disney fans in the way that you are. Not everyone can say that they have, a Mickey chandelier.
Well, I do. Thank you. I'm going to post a picture of that on the Facebook page, people. Before we get off and running on Mickey's Christmas Carol, though, I have to say, one of the founding I don't know what phrase I'm looking for.
I don't know either.
Attributes. One of the
guiding principles?
Guiding principles of this podcast, yes. We shall not discuss a movie for longer than the film's running time, which, God bless every other podcast out there, because they all get more listens than this one anyway, but there are podcasts that will spend 2 hours talking about a 90-minute movie. In that 2 hours, I could have watched the movie without I don't understand that. So, Mickey's Christmas Carol is only 25 and a half minutes, so we must keep it to under 25 and a half minutes.
All right, so we better get going. Chop, chop.
Right. And the first thing is Mickey's Christmas Carol a movie or a Christmas special? And it's really neither, and it's both. Correct?
I would agree with that. It is both. I mean, it was released theatrically.
It was made for theaters. It
Yep.
was released theatrically in 83, along with The Rescuers.
Which I saw in 1983. I have zero memory of seeing Mickey's Christmas Carol in the theater, although I must have, because I remember seeing The Rescuers in the theater, and they were packaged together, so...
Even though you are not bringing this information to the show, you need to ask your parents if they have any. Would they have any recollection? Or would that go in and out?
That'd be a real stretch, I think.
I would imagine your folks would have been just as excited to see Mickey Mouse on the big screen as I would. So this came out in '83 and they put it on a double bill with The Rescuers. I was 10 at the time when it came out, and I've said before on here we never went to the movies, but this thing was announced, Mickey's Christmas Carol, and I flipped my lid, my ever-loving mouse earring lid. I wanted to see this so bad because there had been no Mickey Mouse films for 30 years prior to this. And I don't think there was a whole lot of Mickey Mouse animation, period. I mean, there was not television, and I mean, there was there was such a thing as television, but there was no...
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Mouse in our childhood universe was like, stuffed toys and stuff.
Right.
Like, that was it.
You could only see the cartoons once in a great while on network TV, on The Wonderful World of Disney.
Right.
Which, when I was younger, would be like 6 weeks of nature documentaries, or like the cat who couldn't open an umbrella or something like that, and then like all of a sudden it'd be like next week Mickey and the Beanstalk with a Goofy cartoon, like oh yeah. So yeah, it was just incredible that after 30 years there was going to be. I mean, this was obviously the first piece of Mickey Mouse animation in my lifetime,
right.
and all of us at this age. So for someone who was already obsessed with all things Disney at a young age, was just cuckoo crazy, super excited. Did my parents take me?
Of course not.
No, they did not. Did not. But it came on television the very next year. So it became kind of a traditional Christmas special like others. So I think a lot of people probably have it just pegged as a Christmas special, because it was on every year all the time.
Huh, I don't remember that either.
Oh, yeah. It definitely came on the very next year.
Huh.
Because I remember being excited about that, because back then it would take years for things to go from theater to network television. And it was on NBC, I believe, the very next year, and Disney Channel. And, yeah, I was super excited and probably watched it every year on television until I was able to record it and then just watch it ad nauseum on my VCR. And it would be on Disney Channel. And Disney Channel used to be a pay channel. Like it was like, a premium service, right? That you would have to pay for. And, of course I was obsessed with Disney. So did we have the Disney Channel? No. But it would be free always around Christmas time for like a week or two to promote Disney Channel. So
push the mouse propaganda.
I would circle Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol every single spot on the schedule and watch it like multiple times when we had free Disney Channel. It was awesome. Tell us of your history with Mickey's Christmas Carol. Anyway, I guess if you don't know or can't just figure that out from the title, it's a retelling of Dickens' A Christmas Carol using Disney characters.
Right. Yeah, so the way that Mickey came into our house was my grandmother sent us a copy of it on VHS cassette, technically before we had a VCR. I don't remember exactly the sequence of events, and I think that you've discussed this on this podcast before, but...
This is now 2 reasons why we need to book your father as a guest on the show, so he can spell it all out for us.
Perhaps, but she knew that we would be getting a VCR, and she sent us, a few different tapes of things that she thought we would enjoy, and one of them was Mickey's Christmas Carol. And
now we have to pause. I did not know there was other tapes involved in this transaction.
I might be conflating more than one gift-giving occasion, but I believe that it was all at the same time that she sent us Mickey's Christmas Carol. She sent my brother a tape of To Fly.
Ah, okay. Yes, the IMAX film that used to show at the Air, probably still does show at the Air and Space Museum.
And then she sent me some movie that I can't remember that had ballet in it or something.
Ballet?
Yeah.
The Red Shoes?
Probably.
All right.
Probably.
But back to Mickey.
Right, back to Mickey. So Mickey's Christmas Carol ended up on our shelf thanks to my grandmother.
In a big, glorious clamshell box.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Which I still have possession
Awesome.
of. It is still in a box somewhere. I have the actual cassette that she sent to us in the, as you say, glorious clamshell.
Yes.
But, once we got that VCR going, Mickey's Christmas Carol was definitely in heavy rotation.
Nice.
Because obviously we didn't have that many tapes, and I certainly wasn't going to be sitting there watching the Red Shoes over and over again. So, again, not being like a huge Disney fan, but I mean, I enjoyed the cartoons, whatever. But it just so funny, so funny.
It really. I guess for me, the other big version of A Christmas Carol that I've seen almost as much or about a million times, of course, is the Muppet.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were prompting me. Yes, the Muppet.
The Muppet version, which which has a lot of funny parts, but also takes big chunks of serious and like plays it very straight and Dickensian and moody. And the Mickey version, which of course is a third of the running time of the Muppet version, but it is very faithful to the story and doesn't go off on any kind of wild tangents, but it's packed with very cartoony humor throughout the whole thing. It's very silly, but it has like but it's like silly it's funny. It's funny. It's still funny. Yeah. It's well, like for me when I was little, that I just thought was the best thing in the world is Goofy plays the ghost of Jacob Marley, and then as he's walking out of the room, he trips over a cane coming into the room,
right?
Which is good classic Goofy,
right?
And then when he's leaving the room, he walks over the cane,
correct?
Goes through the door, and then Scrooge says, "Watch out for that first," and then you hear
falls all the way down the stairs.
Falls all the way down the stairs, complete with the trademark Goofy scream.
Yes,
and the camera shakes like the house is rumbling or whatever, and watch out for that first step.
Yes.
Laughed at it yesterday when I watched it again. Such a great moment, yes.
Yeah. I think, one of the things that I liked as a kid and still appreciate is that, it was like these were, Disney characters, but they weren't there, as themselves. They were playing.
Right.
They were playing the Dickens characters. And I thought that, like as a kid, I, wasn't able to necessarily put my finger on why I like that and articulate it. But, I thought that was so clever that, it wasn't, this is Mickey Mouse. It was, this is Mickey playing Bob Cratchit.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this is actually based on a record album from somewhere in the 70s. Mickey's, did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Mickey's Christmas Carol. You did know that because it's on the making of.
Yeah, so I did know it, but I've never heard it.
You've pushed it back.
Yeah.
Which I actually have the record and would have loved to have listened to it to prep for the show, but my record player decided to not spin it 33 1/3 anymore. Spins it like maybe 16 3/4. So that was unlistenable. But on the record album, it says the Disney Players present. And then it says like Scrooge McDuck as Ebenezer Scrooge, Mickey Mouse as Bob Cratchit, etc., etc. And right from the get-go, it's just a glorious throwback to the old cartoons. It starts off with what they call the sunburst opening with the picture of Mickey and the little sunburst behind him, and then you just know, like, it's just like, yeah, Mickey is back. I would have loved. I mean, I saw it a year later, so I was equal as excited as I would have been in '83. But it just starts off and it rocks. Clarence Nash plays Donald Duck in it. I don't know how we're supposed to go about this. I guess we'll just toss it, because you got to assume either everybody's seen it or. Or if they haven't seen it by now, they're not going to. Maybe we'll persuade you to go find it.
Perhaps.
It's on Freeform, formerly ABC Family. What was the point of changing the name of ABC Family to Freeform when everyone constantly has to say now, Freeform, formerly ABC Family? Dory? But Mickey's Christmas Carol pops up a lot on Freeform, formerly ABC Family. This was the last performance of Clarence Nash, who played Donald Duck.
The original voice
of Donald Duck. Who you hear now, like on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, is Donald Duck number 2. So we're only one away from the original, and he played it from the 1930s all the way up until 83 here with Mickey's Christmas Carol. So it's awesome to hear him on that. And then this is also the first appearance of Wayne Allwine, who was Mickey Mouse number 3, who performed Mickey from this 1983 Mickey's Christmas Carol all the way up until 5 or 6 years ago. He passed away. But so that's who you hear on the earlier versions of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and whatever else was out there, Prince and the Pauper and Roger Rabbit and other Mickey Mouse cartoons, records. So when he passed away, now we're on to number 4. Of course, you know who was Mickey Mouse number 1.
Was
Walt Disney, right, up until the mid-40s. Took over, Jimmy McDonald took over, who was a sound guy who Walt just pointed to one day and said, "Hey, Jimmy, I can't do this anymore. Can you take over?" And he was like, yeah, I guess so. And then when you're watching the credits in the opening of it, John Lasseter says creative talents of, and it lists about 10 different names, including John Lasseter, who was just probably right out of Cal Arts back then. Now, of course, the head of Pixar and Disney animation and as a whole. A lot of the big names in Disney animation now that work on the current films either got their start or were obviously very young or younger and just getting their start in when this was made. Did you ever read the original Christmas Carol?
I've never read it.
See, I've never read a book, but you have read books before.
I have read books, but that I've never actually read.
Have you ever read any Dickens?
Bits and pieces. I've never sat down and said, "Ooh, I'm going to read this."
I'm going to read me some Dickens tonight.
It's just never come about.
Because in the film, there's like a joke about Bob Cratchit doing Scrooge's laundry, and I've seen that in other versions. So I was wondering if that's original.
I cannot speak to that.
I don't know. Leave us a comment if you know.
We look like doofuses because we don't know the actual story.
Well, at least we know that. I'm not claiming that the laundry... the original version of Scrooge was a duck in the original book. And we know that because the duck's name is Scrooge anyway.
That's how that works.
The character Uncle Scrooge is obviously named after Ebenezer Scrooge. So the name Scrooge has become synonymous with stinginess. Have you ever met a real person named Scrooge? Well, that's his last name, so you wouldn't really name somebody Scrooge anyway.
I certainly hope not. That would be kind of cruel.
But I would name my son McDuck. And
I would.
Exactly, I would.
Your children are lucky they escaped with...
I just named him after Walt Disney, not a character that Walt Disney came up with. Great about the Christmas Carol that lends itself to productions like Mickey's Christmas Carol or the Muppets, and to a lesser extent other things have done it like the Flintstones and the Mr. Magoo. But it's a perfect vehicle to bring in so many other characters because there's all these little parts for different characters to walk in and out, which is one thing I didn't like a lot about the Muppet version was a lot of those were humans, which I thought was kind of it's the way they did it in the... You've seen the Muppet version enough. I
actually haven't. I have to admit.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
What?
I know. I need to.
The Muppet version plays it more straightforward, although it is funny and has funny parts. But like Uncle Fred is played by a human, and there's certain parts that are played by humans, and then the ghosts aren't actually played by like Fozzie and Miss Piggy. Those are different kinds of Muppets that they made for the movie. But in here you have Cousin Fred is played by Donald Duck.
Right.
Which
Nephew,
is great,
yeah.
Nephew Fred.
Right.
And then the guys that come in and they're looking for money for the poor, which is in every version. And here they're played by Mole and Badger from the Wind in the Willows segment of a 40s Disney film called the Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Right.
So that's kind of neat. And then we mentioned Jacob Marley is Goofy. And then when they get to Fizzywigs, which I have a hard time not saying Fozzywigs because that's what it is in the Muppet version. But when they get to Fizzywigs, there's the big party scene where they're all dancing and you see the younger Scrooge, but you get a quick little shot of Grandma Duck, who I believe is the only time she's ever been animated, maybe in DuckTales, but she's a comic book character.
Right.
So she pops up, and Horace Horsecollar and Clarabelle Cow are dancing, which they hadn't been animated in way, way, way over 30 years. Chip and Dale are there, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So there's all these little characters, just little quick shots, but it's fun. Mr. Toad himself from Wind in the Willows is Fizzywig, not Fozzywig.
Right. And yeah, I mean, that's, it's one of those things that, I mean, at the time I didn't necessarily, realize who all the the cameos were or whatever. But
that was kind of advanced Disney nerdy-ish back then because, I mean, we're talking early 80s without the aid of VCR.
Right.
And then they're doing these characters from movies from the 40s. I mean, everybody remember Chip and Dale.
Sure.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
But it's one of the things that, makes me still appreciate, the whole thing now is, just, their nod to, all of the old cartoons.
Yeah.
And, just kind of throwing in those characters that nobody had seen animated in the bajillion years.
It's also neat or interesting, and this is just super advanced cartoon Disney nerdy-ish, but you always have like the Disney universe where Mickey and Minnie and Pluto and them live in, and like Jiminy Cricket kind of lives in that universe too. But then you have the movie universe where all those characters are separate, but this kind of mixes them where you're seeing Mr. Toad and Donald Duck, in the same scene or whatever, which is unusual for someone who has the time to think about things like that.
But it was fun. But yeah, I mean, even at the time, like, not necessarily knowing who the individual characters were, still I was aware that, like, oh yeah, like, this is kind of this, exactly, like, this weird melding of the universes.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines is when Scrooge is counting the money, and I say this all the time. Anytime anyone's counting money or counting period, I have to go 9,973. Daisy slams the door and all the money falls all over. 3.
Yep.
So then you have, I think we said the Ghost of Christmas Past is played by Jiminy Cricket. The Ghost of Christmas Present is played by Willie the Giant.
So wonderfully played by Willie the Giant.
From the Mickey and the Beanstalk segment from Fun and Fancy 3. And I would imagine a lot of people knew who that was because that was Mickey and the Beanstalk was always on TV all the time. So, and then of course you knew I was going to put you on the spot. Your favorite line from that segment when the
duh, and don't forget the chocolate pot roast with Miss Nashio. Duh, with Miss Nashio. Duh, with Miss Little. Duh, with yogurt. Thank you. Now, of course, in Mickey and the Beanstalk, it was with green gravy, but.
They do that whole bit in Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Yes, except he says with green gravy instead. But
well, my other question is, what the hell is a chocolate pot roast?
I don't. It's a thing, but I don't know.
Good eats.
It doesn't sound good either with green gravy or with yogurt, but whatever.
And then the Ghost of Christmas Future is played by Pete, who at that time in '83 had not been seen in a long time. Of course, now he's always the Disney bad guy. He was also in The Prince and the Pauper, which is another short similar to this that came out a few years later, and he's on Mickey's Clubhouse, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. In the making of segment, they refer to him as Black Pete constantly. And
yeah, they do. But he's had a lot of different names over the years. Peg Leg Pete,
right?
Bad Pete. Yeah, there's been some
dirty
weird
old
ones.
Pete.
Right.
I mean, I knew Peg Leg Pete, but Black Pete, I didn't know if that was a separate character completely, which I looked it up this morning, and it is the same character. Peg Leg Pete actually predates Mickey Mouse. He goes back further than the Mickey Mouse cartoons, all the way back to the Alice shorts, if you're filling out your Disney history note cards here. And he's smoking a cigar in this, which would not happen to anymore.
No, but that's how he always was in the old ones.
Yeah,
so,
he's chomping on that, and his cigar smoke adds a lot of the smoky atmosphere to the scene at the end when they're at the grave.
Yes.
And then we have the grave diggers, who are the weasels from Mr. Toad, who later popped up in Roger Rabbit. So they were they were busy in the 80s, some busy stock players. There's lots of characters from Robin Hood running all over the place in this is probably one of the productions they went into right after Robin Hood, so that was all fresh in everyone's head. And did you know even Donald Duck's horse at the end is Cyril the horse from the Wind in the Willows again.
Right.
So you have all that. So if you haven't seen Mickey's Christmas Carol, you should see it. Right?
It's funny.
It's funny.
It's enjoyable. It holds up really well. So.
Basically, I just wanted to get you here to do your
to do my impression
of that. What are some other lines we quote all the time? We do the 973.
A lot of the ones that I still quote are lines that Goofy says.
Right. Oh yes, Marley. It's I may have to carry these. Go ahead.
Right. So I'm forced to carry these heavy chains through eternity, maybe even longer. Yeah.
So good.
Yes.
So good. And in our house, it is a very, very strict tradition to watch Charlie Brown Christmas and Mickey's Christmas Carol. Used to be on Christmas Eve if we didn't have anything to do. Now we do stuff Christmas Eve, so the 23rd, like as close to Christmas Eve as we can. That is a very strict tradition that I actually had to sneak watch Mickey's Christmas Carol yesterday afternoon while the kids were at school because they would have been pissed if they knew that I had watched it.
You jumped the line.
I know. It's fine. I'll watch it again on the 23rd happily as I do all these different Christmas things. But
no, that's a good tradition to have. I can get behind that one.
The Charlie Brown and Mickey Mouse. Then we throw in the Flintstones too is another good one. So
that one's debatable.
Not the Flintstone Christmas Carol. The old Flintstone episode is really good. Of where Fred is working at the department store at Macy Rocks.
Of course.
So we're gonna put a cork in Mickey's Christmas Carol, because we don't want to talk about it longer than 25 and a half minutes.
How'd we do?
I think we're at about 25 and a half minutes, so we'll move on from there. So I said, well, Diana, if we're going to be doing a Christmas show, you have to tell me your 5 favorite Christmas movies, which she doesn't necessarily have a list of 5 favorite Christmas films, but one in particular that kind of led us to the discussion of what is known as Christmas-adjacent movies.
Yeah. Explain
this concept to everybody.
I wish I could, take credit for that term, Christmas-adjacent movies. It's an AV Club thing, but... yeah, there's a number of films that, you'll see them get kicked around in various lists that, aren't really about Christmas, but they take place, during Christmas, and, Christmas kind of features heavily in them. Die Hard gets mentioned in that list.
Die Hard, I feel, is just about to be a Christmas classic, but it's just not... It's not Christmassy enough,
right.
I think.
It's not about Christmas.
It's got
but...
too much shooting and killing and blood and F-words in it to be a Christmas holiday classic, but yeah.
Gremlins gets mentioned an awful lot in that list. And it's really funny because it's like, you're a much bigger Gremlins fan than I am. I saw Gremlins actually a couple of times in the theater, which was unusual for me.
Right.
So, I definitely, enjoyed my Gremlins at the time, but it's like when I think about it now, like I don't necessarily remember that, like, oh yeah, like the whole thing is set during...
It's a very Christmassy movie, really.
It really is. But of course, they released it in the summer. It was a summer blockbuster, and so like when I think of it now, like that's what I think of is like summer movie.
That is one of my favorite films, but I have watched it at Christmas time because it's been pointed out. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. And it is very, very Christmassy. It starts right off with Christmas, the snow's whatever, and then
it's a Wonderful Life. There's a clip of that in the movie,
and there's snow on the ground the whole movie. There's Christmas trees. It's all it does have the Gremlins are a Christmas gift, or the Mogwai is a Christmas gift. So it's a very Christmassy film, but and I love Gremlins, but for me, it's not a Christmas film. And I would gladly, easily watch Gremlins any of the 12 months of the year, but I would not watch Mickey's Christmas Carol outside of November or December if you held a gun to my head. Like, I'm very strict that Christmas stays in November, December, because you dilute it if you watch it all year. I like to have it strong for November, December.
You like your strong Christmas brew.
I like my take it black, like my men. Airplane reference, folks. Airplane reference. Let's be very clear on that. Let me make one thing perfectly clear.
Right.
So you mentioned Better Off Dead as a Christmas-adjacent movie, which we both have an extreme fondness for Better Off Dead. I don't have the whole thing committed to memory, though, unfortunately. But
I do. It's one of my favorites.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but this is a movie about a guy who pines after a girl and cannot have her.
Correct.
It's been a very long time since I've seen this, but he's pining after the French girl, right?
No. So he's he and the cute popular blonde girl dated for 6 months, but then she dumped him for the captain of the ski team, and he's just heartbroken and can't get over it, and thinks of all these ways to kill himself. And this is actually, in fact, based on, Savage Steve Holland's true life experience.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
The writer and director.
Correct.
Okay.
He had this experience of just, like, being utterly in love with a girl, and she broke his heart, and he was just devastated and turned it into this ridiculously funny movie.
Yes. Insanely funny. So how does Christmas play a part? Because I have zero recollection of Christmas in this movie.
So the whole thing is set right around the holiday time, and like some of the best scenes are, related to like Christmas morning. I mean, there's a whole scene Christmas morning where Lane Meyer, our hero, is unwrapping a huge stack of frozen dinners that his mother has gotten for him for Christmas. Hilarious. The mother gives to the father a jacket made of real aardvark fur that has an aardvark snout and everything for the hood. They go outside and, Dad shows her that, his Christmas gift to her is all new windows on the garage door because all the old windows had been broken by the paper boy. Right. And as soon as, he unveils the new garage door,
Right.
it crashes down and all the windows shatter.
Isn't the garage door has a big bow on it, right?
It does, yes. So there are these great scenes that, have to do with Christmas. It continues into, New Year's. There's a whole, New Year's dance at the school, which is hilarious. And then, Lane goes home and discovers that his, 8-year-old brother is, having a New Year's party with some trashy women that he picked up, which is hilarious. It's
because he ordered a book.
Right, he ordered a book called How to Pick Up Trashy Women. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing is set around Christmas, even though it's not about Christmas, but all the action happens, right around the holiday season. Yeah. So it is definitely, not only my favorite Christmas adjacent movie, but one of my favorite movies ever. So,
and it has a really, really unique sense of humor that has never been duplicated and only closely duplicated in this guy's other two films. One Crazy Summer, which I think people might be a lot more familiar with from it running on HBO nonstop. Right. And a third one, How I Got into College.
Which no one has seen.
I saw it in the theater. And I just rewatched it maybe this year, actually. I had forgotten completely about it, and I stumbled across it online or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in forever. So I got hold of a copy, and it's not near as good as Better Off Dead, but it is very good. But
no, I mean, if you read the interviews with Savage Steve Holland, I mean, Better Off Dead was definitely his labor of love.
That's awesome.
That is his baby. He loves that movie. John Cusack incidentally hates it.
Really.
I think over the years he's mellowed some on it, but at the time, he was really upset with the director because I think that was early in his career, and I think he sort of was, taking himself seriously as an actor, and was angry that he was made to look so, foolish in this movie. Because, I mean, it's a ridiculous movie.
Yeah, it's silly. Well, I remember having seen this and One Crazy Summer and thought, okay, John Cusack's Chevy Chase kind of whatever. And then his next big movie was something called Hot Pursuit or something like that, where it was an action film. Yeah. And I saw that and was like, what? No.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love John Cusack, I really do, and I love some of his movies, but he's also made just a ton of crap.
He's made a lot of movies, so yeah.
Yes. I mean, he's never stopped working. He's never stopped working since his first movie, but he has made so much crap, and it's really hard to hear that, the guy who appeared in, Must Love Dogs or whatever, was, angry that he was
Thank you for referencing Must Love Dogs.
Oh, I saw that in the theater.
Hey, you must love dogs.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Real quick, 3 other good John Cusack performances.
I mean, I really like Say Anything. I know that's
I've never seen that. I know.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I need to see that.
What else?
I didn't mean to throw you under the bus. Yeah. I can't even think of any either. He was in John Grisham one, wasn't he?
Yeah. Shoot.
Did we see it? Is it the
we
Rainmaker?
Might have.
The
no,
Rainmaker?
No, I don't think I saw it with you, but I did see it in the theater. Runaway Jury?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that. But it's anything that he shows up in. I just generally like John Cusack, but yeah, he's made.
Did you like Hot Tub Time Machine?
He's made some stinker movies, for real.
Everybody that saw Hot Tub Time Machine when it came out, Ed, you're gonna love this. It's
not funny.
It was not good.
No.
It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Right, just because it's a stupid title doesn't mean Ed's gonna like it. It has to be.
Well, I mean, it's on paper.
Yes.
It sounds like something that you would enjoy. It's got a ridiculous premise, and some people who should have had good chemistry together, whatever. But yeah, it's not funny.
Not the best. Let's move on. Since you didn't have a list of 5 favorite Christmas films, let me talk about myself for a minute.
Oh yeah, please.
My 5 favorite Christmas films that you should watch if you've never seen them. So, go see Mickey's Christmas Carol. You should definitely watch Better Off Dead. You could wait till after Christmas to watch Better Off Dead, wouldn't you say?
You can watch it anytime.
Anytime.
But I would recommend watching it right away.
Just like Cookie Monster enjoys his anytime snacks, Better Off Dead is an anytime film. But these are Christmas films that you're only allowed to watch November and December. I'll even give you the last week of October through the first week of January. But
because you're generous like that.
Here, and I put them in ascending order. Number 5, Holiday Inn from 1942. Seen it?
Never seen it.
This is a film that came out before White Christmas, but this is the film that actually introduced White Christmas, the song White Christmas, not White Christmas. White Christmas, which I've now said 18 times, is a response to how popular the song was, so they made the movie in color. It has a similar plot, but Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire is black and white, and it's like nice and cozy, and it has lots of musical numbers, and it's about a hotel that's only open during the holidays. So it's a nice, warm, fuzzy film. Minus the number in blackface. That might not be so warm and fuzzy.
That doesn't play so well these days,
doesn't play so well. But, it was 1942. Number 4, I don't know how to segue out of that, so I'll just move on. Number 4 on my list, from 1947. Old films, Ed. The Bishop's Wife, with Cary Grant, Loretta Young, and David Niven.
Never seen it.
It's such a good movie. First of all, as I've said on the show before, I love my old movies with Christmas department stores in them, so you get some Christmas department store right off the bat. And this is a film where David Niven is the bishop, and he is having a lot of doubt about his church and what he's doing with his life and various things going on in his life. And Cary Grant is an angel that comes down from heaven to assist him. Of course, he doesn't believe that he's an angel. And then 1947 style wackiness ensues. It's a good flick. And it's very touching, and it has like some magic in it, and it's funny, it has some serious parts, and it's very, very Christmassy. It's got a lot of great Christmas music in it. It's a good Christmas film. Bishop's Wife, of course, it was remade in the 90s as The Preacher's Wife with... I just throw quizzes out left and right. With Whitney Houston. Which, by the way, I saw in the theater at Palace 9, and they framed the film wrong on the screen, and the boom mic was in the entire film. Number 3...
Not that you're bitter.
No. Number 3, Miracle on 34th Street from 1947.
That's a good one.
You've seen that one.
I have seen that one. That one's awesome.
Edwin Gwynn, Maureen O'Hara, Natalie Wood. What are you going to say about Miracle on 34th Street? It's just another nice, warm, fuzzy. What I like most about it is they take the subject of Santa Claus and treat it very adult-like and very maturely and very sincerely.
Yes.
And that is why I love that movie so much. Number 2, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I adore the first Vacation film, so the fact that this has become an absolute bona fide Christmas classic at this point is just delightful to my soul. And I love every single frame of that movie, and my kids do, and we're like literally anticipating watching it. Like, we can't wait to watch it. We're just waiting for the night, where we can pop it in and watch it. So that's awesome. You've seen that?
I have seen that, although I think I've only ever seen it once.
No.
And I enjoyed it, but yeah, maybe I just need to watch it some more.
You should revisit. It's a good film. My number 1 Christmas movie, and I'm not saying this to be an idiot or a jackass or anything else like that, is Sincerely. I love this movie so much, I was thinking it might actually need to break my top 5 of all time. Do you know what it is? You can see my notes right here.
I can see your notes, but I knew even before.
Folks, we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to Ernest P. Worrell for saving Christmas in 1988 and all years since. Ernest Saves Christmas is such a wonderful movie. And really, the reason why I love it so much is because it is not as... stupid as you would think it is. It is a very sweet, funny, heartfelt movie. If you saw Ernest Goes to Camp, that's a lot of slapstick silliness, and there's some of that in here. And it's a movie based on a commercial. But I saw Ernest Goes to Camp. I was like, whatever. And then I went and saw Ernest Saves Christmas in the movie theater with our good friend Jason Blum. In 1988, and was completely blown away about how Christmassy and how sweet and just good it is. It's just so funny, and I truly anticipate watching that whenever. I don't watch it every year, but a lot. Recently, I've watched it every year, so I guess I do watch it every year. But it's just so good, and it was filmed in Disney World, which makes it extra special. There's parts of it that were filmed in Disney World and the surrounding Orlando area, and
I have a feeling that you made me watch that at some point.
Probably. Made you?
Well, yes, you gave me the
honor.
Yeah. I have a feeling we watched that together at some point, but I'm sad to say I don't have any memories of it.
So good. And this just tells you how good this movie is, or that you can just make money off of Christmas movies. Disney sold the home video rights to all the other Ernest films except Ernest Saves Christmas. So think about that.
It's interesting.
It's so good. What happens is Ernest saves Christmas and helps Santa out, and it's just the best. Little girl steals Santa's magic bag, so Ernest and this girl help Santa get the bag back. It's great. I can do the whole movie like line for line while I'm watching it, like beat for beat. Real quick, I assembled 5 more films. Real quick. We won't go into detail about these, but you tell me if you've seen them or not. Oh my God, I love Prancer. God, that's a good movie.
Don't think I've seen that one.
Little girl finds Santa's reindeer and nurses him back to health. Prancer's in the shed behind my house. Love that movie. My kids will not watch it.
Huh.
Muppet Christmas Carol, of course, you got to throw that in there.
Yep, haven't seen it.
I love, with every fiber of my being, A Very Brady Christmas.
Of course you do.
1988 TV movie where the Bradys get back together. And just for icing on the cake, it's not... All the Bradys have never been reassembled at one time. There's always one of the girls missing.
Right.
So in this particular one, Cindy is gone. Cindy is not was not available. She was on her honeymoon. So, okay, right? So then they replace it with this hot girl from Charles in Charge. And I mean, it's great. It's wonderful. Sorry.
It's great. I have seen that, although it didn't stick in my head.
I have seen that every year for like 20 years. It's a magical, and I don't even own it. I just find it wherever it airs on TV and watch it on TV every single year. Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas is a beautiful, beautiful animated film from 1999. It is 3 stories. The first one is like a Groundhog Day take, but with Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Christmas Day. It's so-so. The second story is Max and Goofy trying to get a letter in the mail to Santa on Christmas Day, and that is hilarious and awesome. And then the third is a retelling of The Gift of the Magi with Mickey and Minnie, and it's done like old-fashioned, and it's just magical, and it's like seriously one of the most mature and like beautiful things they've ever done with Mickey Mouse, and it's stuck on this made for DVD. I know
I'll have to check that out.
made for DVD video, but I swear it is like the best Mickey Mouse thing you will ever see. Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. There's a sequel called Twice Upon a Christmas, which is very funny but not as good. Finally on my list, Holiday Affair from 1949, which has a whole ton of department stores in it. It's just a department store filled with
with
Christmas.
you and department stores?
I love Christmas department stores. It's got Robert Mitchum and Janet Leigh in it. I just watched it again the other night. Very, very good.
So Santa Claus the movie is not on your list?
Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore?
Which I saw in the theater.
I've never seen it.
You've never
seen it. Never seen it.
Holy cow. Yeah, we saw that in the theater, and it's one of those movies that at the time I thought was funny, and now I know there's no way I could sit through that.
There's probably like 20 minutes. It's just one of those mid-'80s movies where there's like 20 minutes where nothing happens. It's just like sound effects and like, what are you doing? I'm over here. Right? That happens all the time.
Sure.
Not to be confused with The Santa Claus from 1994.
Yeah, definitely not.
Did you ever see that?
I never saw it.
Oh, that's a great movie. The first one is great. I saw that in the theater.
Let me tell you a Christmas movie that does not need to exist. I saw this movie on a plane it was actually Christmas Day. I was flying that night from New Orleans back to Baltimore, and
say you were flying from the North Pole. That would make it
more...
more...
I was on a plane from the North Pole, and they showed I'll Be Home for Christmas with Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yes.
That movie does not need to exist. Thank you for ruining Christmas forever.
It is kind of an ugly little movie, isn't it?
It's awful.
I saw it in the theater. I paid money to see it. I saw it recently on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix, like a couple years ago. And I liked it when I first saw it, but did not like it on the second go-around. It's not a very pleasant film. Jessica Biel's in the house. Yes, Gary Cole.
Yep.
Big ups to Gary Cole. But I'll Be Home for Christmas, starring Home Improvements, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Somewhere in the Disney office building, it was like, hey, the Santa Claus did well. Who else from Tool Time can we give a Christmas movie to? And the guy behind the fence didn't get his movie, but you don't even get that reference because you never watched Home Improvement.
No, I do.
It just wasn't funny, Ed. It just wasn't a funny reference. All right, well, there's a whole bunch of Christmas movies that you should watch and enjoy.
And some you shouldn't.
like any with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. If it's not The Lion King and Jonathan Taylor Thomas says, you might want to pass. Guys, thanks for joining us on What's Your Favorite Movie? Everyone's favorite movie podcast. And again, follow us on Facebook or Twitter or all that good stuff. And something that would really help us out, if you would take a minute, is to write a little review on iTunes, if you know how to do that. If you don't, go ask an 8-year-old. He'll show you how to do it. Or subscribing to it helps out as well. It also lets you know when there's new episodes out, and it helps bring the show up further into the search. So when someone's searching for a movie podcast or Christmas movie podcast, instead of being number 9,084, we might be number 9,082. So you never know. Good stuff indeed.
9,083.
I missed it.
Yep.
Could have brought it back. Diana, once again, thanks for joining us at the What's Your Favorite Movie Studios.
It's been my pleasure, Ed.
It's been all our pleasures. And from all of us to all of you, a very Merry Christmas. And as always, it's khaki wishes and cookie dreams. So long.